How many times have you finished up a busy day and suddenly remembered you need to make something for dinner? Well, don't panic, because if you've got just these 3 simple ingredients, you can make a classic Spanish dish that can feed you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about the Spanish omelette, also known as tortilla de papa. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode here at Time Out Kitchen, where today I'll be showing you how you can make the ever versatile and very delicious tortilla de papa. And if your Spanish is a little rusty, this is also commonly known as the Spanish omelette. Now, this is a dish I hadn't had in a very long time and was something my mother used to make for me and my siblings when we were growing up. And I recently got reintroduced to it when I was on holidays, and I gotta say, considering the total lack of ingredients, this thing definitely punches way above its weight when it comes to flavor, texture, and overall ease to make. And frankly, I've got no idea why I haven't made this part of my regular rotation. Anyways, that said, let's get into the ingredients, and for that you're going to need this super duper extensive list of ingredients. Are you ready? Do you have your pen and paper out? Good, so you'll need onions, potatoes, and eggs. Yeah, that's it. Now, we're going to actually be a little bit more specific here, and I'm going to be using 1 large Spanish onion, about 4 medium to large-ish potatoes. I'm actually using some Yukon Golds here, as they're a bit waxier and hold up a bit better during the cooking process, followed by 6 or 7 large eggs. You'll also want about 1.5 cups of olive oil, which I know seems like a lot, but don't worry, I will cover that in a minute. Now, optionally, I'm using a few chives, which I will finely chop to add a bit of color and light onion flavor, as well as using some Greek yogurt to add that kind of luxurious, creamy, and tangy sauce that pairs so well with this dish. And yes, you can use sour cream if you'd like. So, as you can see, this is a cheap, delicious, and very versatile dish. But you're probably still thinking,
but Tom, what about all the expensive oil?
Look, we're not using the olive oil that's hand-squeezed by an Italian nonna living in the mountains. We're using your basic, most available, and likely cheapest olive oil that you can get your hands on. Plus, don't worry, we're going to save all of that excess oil for future cooking purposes. Anyways, with that said, let's get to the prep. Now, to start, you're going to want to grab your onion, cut it in half, cut off the non-root side, and peel away the papery skin. Then cut this into half once again, turn it 90 degrees, and cut this into thin strips. And then simply do this for the entire onion until you've got a nice pile of thinly sliced, eye-stinging onions. Next, it's time to peel those taters, so grab one and get to peeling. Now, if you're really lazy here, you could make the argument that there is no need to peel your potatoes, but in my highly professional home cook opinion, you'd be wrong. Removing the skins is going to give you a better color and a less grainy, more silky texture. So with your potatoes peeled, cut this into quarters by cutting lengthwise, and then cutting that lengthwise once again. Then you'll turn this 90 degrees and thinly slice your potatoes into these rough triangular shapes, which should look something a little bit like this. Then simply repeat the process for all of your potatoes until everything is roughly uniform. Once done, grab a large bowl filled slightly over halfway with water, and then gently dump your potatoes into your very blurry bowl of water, thanks autofocus, and then just give these a quick stir. Now, the reason we do this is going to help remove some of that excess starch and give us a less mealy final product. With that done, it's time to get cracking on those eggs, so grab a medium bowl and, well, get cracking. Once all of those eggs are good friends and are in the bowl, grab your bluest of whisks and give this a thorough mix. You want to get a nice smooth consistency here, so don't be afraid to use those muscles. You big strong human, you. Anyways, with your onions diced finely, your potatoes cut thinly, and your eggs beaten vigorously, the time, my friends, has arrived to start cooking. So in a cold, large cast iron skillet, or any deep-sided pan that you've got, will go your 1.5 to 2 cups of olive oil. You'll want to turn this to medium and let this begin to heat up. Since we have a lot of oil, this will take a little longer than normal to heat up, so this is a perfect opportunity to finally chop up our garnish, which in this case, as you might recall, are some fresh chives. Now, I'm a big fan of chives, so I'm going to use a lot. However, you could replace this with any herb you like, or simply stick to just the 3 basic ingredients. It's really totally up to you. Now, it's been about 2 minutes and our oil is almost up to temp, and we want to infuse this oil with some flavor. So before this really gets hot, we're going to drop in our onions and give this a quick mix. Once this oil is up to temp, you should hear and see that wonderful sound of lightly frying food. Our goal here is to slowly caramelize our onions, so after a few minutes you'll notice that the large pile of onions has shrunk down significantly, and after around 10 minutes or so you should have exactly what you're aiming for, lightly caramelized onions. And I stress lightly caramelized because we will be cooking these onions for a little bit longer. With the onions caramelized, you'll quickly drop your strained potatoes into the pan and mix these until each individual potato is thoroughly coated in that wonderful fragrant oil. Since the potatoes are so thin, they will cook relatively quickly once they're submerged in that oil, but here's a good time to point a few things out to help you achieve a really great Spanish omelet. First, you'll want to keep mixing these every minute or so just to make sure that things don't stick to the pan. But be gentle here, no one wants burnt mashed potatoes in their dinner. Second, it might be tempting to let these get a nice hard crust on the outside because who doesn't like deep fried potatoes, but the goal here is a crisp texture with a soft, pillowy inside, so don't go too hard on the frying here. Keep your stove on a medium heat and let this thing work. Alright, so it's been about 8 to 10 minutes and these are looking perfect. So it's time to move these off the heat and then grab your slotted spoon because you'll be scooping these Spanish spuds directly into your egg mixture. Just do your best to drain as much oil off of these as you can. Once everyone's gotten to know each other, gently fold the mixture over, taking care to try and not mash or break those potatoes as you go. The more intact the potatoes are, the more gaps there will be for the egg mixture to create various layers of texture, which is precisely what we're looking for. With that done, move everything to the side because we need to deal with all of that oil. By which I mean we're going to strain this into this jar, and by that I mean I'm going to dump about a quart of it onto my cutting board. So just cover up your shame with some paper towels, and voila, a mostly full jar of cooking oil ready for your next shallow fry. And fry we shall, except that this time you'll want to do it in a non-stick pan to ensure that we minimize, well, stickage. So here I'm grabbing a 10-inch pan, turning the heat up to a medium-high, and then dropping in about 3 tablespoons of our infused oil. With the pan up to temp, you'll want to grab your omelet mixture and pour in about a third of the mixture and then gently spread this out across the pan before dropping in the rest of the mixture. The reason I do this is to help create even contact across the surface of the pan, which will give you not only a wonderful golden brown crust, but also provide a nice solid structure for the entire dish. After this bubbles away for around 4 or 5 minutes, I recommend running a rubber spatula down the sides to make sure that nothing is sticking and to make flipping this whole thing a lot easier. Oh, that's right, we're flipping this bad boy. And to do that, you'll want to place down this cork pad to protect your cutting board and then bring over your still very hot Spanish omelet. Now this next part is important, so pay attention. You want to grab a plate that is larger, not the same size, but larger than your pan, as this will really make flipping this thing over a heck of a lot easier. Then with the plate face down, a firm grip on the pan, and 50% confidence, give this thing a flip. Now since my camera is in a low position, I couldn't flip this with the technique I necessarily wanted, but I definitely recommend doing this a little bit faster so that you can avoid some spillage. But in any case, you've got yourself a very nice looking Spanish omelet, at least on one side. You can see that wonderful deep golden brown color, and this thing smells incredible. Alas, we're not here to admire our work, we need to finish cooking this thing. So grab your pan and then push the plate to the back end of the pan and slide the potatoey marvel back into its home. Now I kind of messed this up on the sides here as you can see, but not to worry, this thing is very sturdy and it will cook itself back into place. You just want to readjust the edges like I do here with your spatula and you should be good to go. So let's head back to the stovetop to finish cooking. After another 6 to 8 minutes on the stove, this thing should be ready and it's time to once again grab your large plate and give this another flip. This time with 100% confidence though. And look at that, you've got yourself a piping hot, authentic, and golden brown Spanish omelet. The color and the smell alone are more than appetizing, but the textures, especially those deep golden brown, crisp and crackly edges, are really making me hungry. Which begs the question, what the hell are we waiting for? Let's plate this up. So grab yourself some fancy dishware and then drop in a healthy serving of your omelet. Then top this with a pinch of kosher salt, a few cranks of freshly ground black pepper, a nice dollop of Greek yogurt or sour cream, and top it all with your thinly chopped chives. And you, my friend, have made yourself a very traditional and very delicious looking tortilla de papa. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time I was this excited to eat a plate of potatoes, eggs, and onions. And speaking of that, let's taste this thing. Now up close you can really see the depth of color and the amazing layering in this dish, and it tastes amazing. The caramelized onions add this slight nutty sweetness, and the potatoes have an amazing contrast between a wonderfully crisp exterior and a light, fluffy interior. I'm also a big fan of what the yogurt is bringing to the table here, as it adds a lot of contrast with its bright, creamy tang. Needless to say, this is delicious, and this dish really exemplifies what I believe to be the essence of home cooking. Taking a few simple ingredients, applying some tried and tested techniques, and making a killer dish that you can literally eat morning, day, or night. And trust me, if you make this dish, you probably will eat it for all three. With that said, I do hope you give this recipe a shot and let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. I also want to say thank you for watching until the end of this video, and as always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. We will see you in the next one.